Prepararse para lo próximo que viene es una parte importante en el proceso de hacerse un adulto. De modo que si su hijo le dice que quiere unirse a las Fuerzas Armadas, se está preparando para un reto. Visite today'smilitary.com porque su éxito del mañana empieza con su apoyo hoy.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
There. And just to clarify something, when Benjamin said to me, "You crack on, Cocker," that meant go ahead. As a delightful Northern English turn of phrase there.
Sorry, yeah. I will come with subtitles next week.
Yes, if you don't mind, that would be great. And this is, please do the homework, everybody, of smiling for no particular reason. This will help. When you were saying do a smile like this, I was thinking do a smile, do a smile as though you have done a smell. You know that's so,
full circle, Carl. Full circle.
This program isn't just thrown together. What do you?
Well done. Well done.
What do you call someone who refuses to fart in public? A private tutor. You see, be that private tutor with that enigmatic smile on your face, especially in a lift. My wife told me she'll slam. This is going to help you with your smiling for the rest of the week. Just remember one of these. My wife told me she'll slam my head on the keyboard if I don't get off the computer. I'm not too worried. I think she's that's very visual.
That was good. Yes,
it's a psychotherapy one. This is great. This would, if you do some psychotherapy again, James, you can try this with clients. If you're feeling depressed, try drinking a gallon of water before you go to sleep. It'll give you a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Or all night.
I like that. I don't know about anybody else. James, great job. Lovely hanging out and talking with you. And it's not a cowboy hat.
If you take anything away from today's show, just take that one thing. That'll be great.
Would you like to leave another thing? Would you like to posit something else? And it's always good to have a final word from you.
I always look in the moment. I've just really enjoyed being on screen with you, Benjamin. I think you and I have very similar ideas about how humans function. And I think all that we've got is probably mostly common sense to our community, which makes me feel really good about who we are and what we can be as a species. We're all capable of this. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, bless you, James. We'll see you next week, my friend. Take care and bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.
We'll be right back after this. It's like a barefoot broadcast, isn't it? With those beats in the background.
No, that's the first time I've been for this second half, so I'm like grooving away.
Yeah, and of course, we should mention my guest here. If you're watching the Iberian FM phone-in segment, this is Benjamin Stubbs, who's with us, the author of the 30-day Happiness Bootcamp, the Beginner's Guide, or the Beginner's Edition. More will follow. I see what you did there. The homework this week that he's given us on the Good Morning Portugal show is to smile for no reason. For much of the rest of the week, we're getting feedback about that already. Sunrise is beautiful out here. Just sent you a little video, Carl. So we'll play that towards the end of the segment this week. Thanks for that, Pete. And smiling in Portugal always has a reason, as everyone always has, or always beams a massive smile right back at you. Yeah, smiley culture for sure. Benjamin's here. Can take your calls. I'll just open up the phone line on 913-590-303. I hadn't heard anything about this Russian business of the gurus, the self-help gurus being arrested in prison. Do you know anything about that, Benjamin?
No, because I've said before that I try and limit what I hear and read. I try to have the basic information and try to do my own research. But sometimes I get a bit lost with rabbit holes, etc. So I honestly, so I haven't heard about that at all. It wouldn't surprise me, but I just see the bigger picture. Like I always think, with it's this famous quote from Jurassic Park of all things. When it's where the dinosaurs start to multiply and they're not meant to because they're meant to be the same sex. And then it's one of the, I can't remember his character now. Jeff Goldblum said, nature always finds a way. And I always feel that every time things try to get snuffed out, the human race fights back. So and it always happens. So I feel that I'm not trying to trivialize what's going on over there.
No, and it could be propaganda.
Sometimes you try and snuff it, but it never really gets snuffed.
Yes, and if you were anti-Russia, it would be a great thing to say, wouldn't it? And I think it's interesting. I mean, the main meat of our edition this morning on the Iberian FM phone-in is to talk about which books, self-help books, have made an impression. And if it is, let's say it is true that certain authors and books are being banned in Russia, it kind of proves in a way, doesn't it, how powerful self-help books can be. So for you, Benjamin, you are the as we see on the screen there, you're the creator of the 30-day Happiness Bootcamp, the beginner's class there. You are a self-help book writer yourself, and it's not your first one either. Which are the ones that came before that inspired you to change your life and to start writing yourself?
Well, if you think about it, one of the biggest self-help books, and I know it's quite controversial in its beliefs, but let's just talk about The Secret, which is probably the biggest one.
Yes.
But going back to kind of links perfectly to you kind of in my segment about what's happening in Russia and the idea of The Secret, or what's written, the premise behind it is when she wrote it, she discovered a lot of information was out there, but had been kept from the public. The idea of, the control we have in our lives, control of our minds, what we put out there, all the things we kind of know, like, what kind of, some people will call it karma, but what you put out, you get back. But then what they found is a lot of secret societies and everything knew it and kept it quiet because they didn't want the masses to know. And the idea of The Secret was she wanted to share the secret of how to create your life and how to change your life. So again, the premise of that book aside, that's kind of backing up the fact that a lot of people don't like the masses knowing that we've got, the power we've got. The energy we've got inside, the control we've got about our minds, and we're kind of that's not been given us. We've had to kind of scrabble amongst ourselves. But what I find fascinating about the future, and it's lovely what James said, for me, I've got a lot of hope for the future because I've taught in a college for many years. So I've taught a lot of youth for 10 years, and they are coming through. They know what's going on. They're not stupid. They don't believe the news and the dogma that's given them. So it's only a matter of time, and things are changing. So I wish they'd change a bit faster because I'm eager and excited. But that book is good because it kind of sums up what you were saying, that, that's going on in Russia. People are trying to kind of suppress this information, but it's not going to work. It's already out there, isn't it? So,
well, it is, and you could take a complementary political ideological view as well, couldn't you? That even in what are seen as the most democratic and free societies, let's call them sort of the neoliberal societies, where consumerism could be the religion or the way of life. That could also be seen as a conspiracy against people's true happiness, couldn't it? As can be observed in many a meme.
Yeah, you're right. But I also think this is what I've always had this question about the news and the media and this kind of capitalism and all the famous buzzwords, which is true. There's a lot of, obviously, I'm not here to kind of defend it all. But what I'm saying is we have to take some responsibility as a collective to be aware of what we're doing. Because the newspapers we can say, the newspapers only put in negative stuff because we only buy it when it's negative. We only click on it when it's got some stupid clickbait about shocking this. And you look at it and it's the most unshocking thing ever. So yes, I've clicked on it, but it's only if it's something I'm interested in, like Strictly Come Dancing, but what I'm saying is we've got to take responsibility for that. So the newspapers will stop printing negative stuff if we stop buying it. So we've got, I think everything, I always think it comes back to me. Going back to the previous segment about happiness, there's only so much I can control. I've got opinions, I'm sure we agree on many things, Carl, but I'm thinking, what control have I got in this moment over certain things? And I'm thinking that is, for me, what I'm doing when I look out in the world, what you said, capitalism and the way life is. We've chosen that. Until we choose not to choose that, then it's going to keep going. Does it help? Of course. Is it set up for us to stay in the loop? Yes. But through our own knowledge, we've got to start to question as a society and a collective, what is this making us happy?
And most importantly, individually, right? Because I think it can only be done on an individual basis.
Yeah.
And hence the positive part of self-help books. Now, I think the point Pete was actually making was the gurus I'm talking about, the scam artists who prey on the most vulnerable, like I don't know who this is, Blinyovskaya. If you look her up, the public love the fact that they were finally arrested, but Putin had previously funded her. Now, this is very interesting to me. If you look up Letchek and Blinovskaya, you will see what I'm talking about. I had no idea about that, Pete. Oh, Katya's here. Katya Lima, bon dia, a bit late today. You're very welcome here. What's your favorite self-help book, Katya Lima? What I'm picking out from here is scam artists preying on the most vulnerable. Now, this is a criticism of self-help books. And of course, you mentioned The Secret. And the Secret was pulled into this very same area, wasn't it? Of like some of us saying that others are vulnerable and are being preyed upon by con artists and scam artists, which of course that does happen. But I'm fascinated by that dynamic because it's another one of those conversations that's about out there rather than taking responsibility for what's going on in here, because ultimately that's the only thing we can really take responsibility for.
I think with everything, there's scam bankers, there's dodgy police, there's every area. There's some people that let it down. There's some charlatans in every region.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So we can say whatever. We can say back. There's always going to be a few that take advantage of quote the vulnerable unquote. You know, in that sense. So of course, there's going to be gurus that know that by saying this 30-day, there's me. But you know, like buy this package is going to change your life. Now, I haven't promised that. I've just said, look, guys, if I can have ethos in my book is, look, if you don't know where to start, just try this.
Yeah.
It might not be then. It might not fix you. It might not be everything you're after, but it might give you a starting point. But I think it's when sometimes people have bought this kind of this 30-day, £1,000, it would change your life, but then you have to sign up every month. You can see where people would slowly might lose themselves. But I think, like you said, it's going back to our own power. And I think for me, it's all about our own taking our own decisions and finding our own truths. And I think that's happening. Yeah. All that's happened in society in the past 50 years is we've gone from no information or limited information from the odd newspapers or the odd news to having everything. So, of course, we've gone from like this to like swing to full information where there is fake news, there is, charlatans. And I think we'll just learn over the next 20, 30 years discernment, where we'll be like, right, okay, and everything we read is true then.
Good word, discernment. Absolutely right. And, I'm very, of course, one of the realizations I've had is that, you can take anything and you can find a good or a bad aspect about it from an ideological point of view. And that's why people argue all day long about stuff, isn't it? And to me, it's to do with the out there, not the inner experience. And so much of the world, of course, and our conceptualization of it is out there, talking about ideas out there, talking about those other people out there. The real joy, I think what you're talking about essentially of becoming less unhappy, i.e. more happy, is about the inner orientation. And that's perhaps another thing that we're growing to embrace along with this process of discernment and other skills that we're picking up as a species, perhaps, or remembering, if not developing.
Perfect word is remembering. We're remembering how we really are. Going back to obviously the theme of the thing, which is your favorite self-help books. An author I really like is Joe Dispenza, because he links science with kind of spirituality and pushing the boundaries of what our brains can actually achieve. So his studies on brain scans, on meditations, on positivity, on its law of attraction, whatever, all the different things. He's starting to prove through evidence, and he's getting universities coming in, that it's quite deep for kind of 10 o'clock on a Monday morning.
I'm all for it.
But we're creating our reality by what we're putting out there. Because, you've seen many studies about plants that have been talked to positively, negatively, and the plants that were talked to positively grew more. Same with the water experiment, same with rice. This isn't just some sort of woo-woo. They're starting to realize there's some sort of energy around us. Say, for example, our aura, that people know we've got an aura. You can feel it when someone's in you. So if you start them basic premises, there is some sort of energetic thing going on around our bodies and with us, then it makes sense that we can feel that, So for me, Joe Dispenza really helped me open my mind, because I wanted to know the science behind it, but I also knew there was something more, and he kind of links the two together. So that's helped me. And that's what brings me always back to me. What can I do? I can't control what's going on in Russia myself at the moment. I can't control what's going on with the government at the moment. Now, yes, anger has got its place and purpose. Of course, as like we discussed this the other week. But I don't want to be angry all the time. Do you know what I mean? Because that achieves nothing. you know, and I'm depleting my own energy, depleting my own family life, and depleting what I've got to offer. So I've realized that, you know, I've got opinions about stuff, but I don't get as emotional about it. And I will make my votes in certain points and make my opinions at certain points. But what I realized from this book was my energy that I'm sending out. And I've got so much more to give myself, my friends, my family, and to make this world a better place, which is what we all want, by not focusing on that as much. Be aware, be informed but not inundated, and then putting my energy in what I want to create. It'd be like if you got a new file and then you save on top of the old one. It says, do you want to overwrite? I'm like, yeah. I think that's what I want to do. I want to overwrite my old stuff with what I want. That makes sense. Rather than just complaining about the old stuff, like what do I want and where we go in. And Joe Dispenza's great for that. I'd recommend his books.
Okay, so The Secret and Joe Dispenza, as if you're looking for inspiration for self-help books. Pete, continuing with this theme, feel free to call in, you, Pete, or anybody, 913-590-303. Happy to take a call on your favorite self-help book. How did it help you? And of course, you know, it's a matter of debate on one level, whether or not self-help books are a good idea. What I'm interested in is ownership. That was something I forgot to talk about with James this morning, is owning things. And, you know, there's the opinion level, isn't it, of are self-help books good or bad? And you can talk all day long about your ideas and opinions on that. But what I'm more interested in is which books have genuinely helped you and why. You know, what's been owned, what's been realized, what's been seen with the choice of a good book. For what it's worth, my favorite, my enduring, two actually. One is How to Stop Thinking. And it works so well. I can't remember the author, and I don't know where it is at the moment. So How to Stop Thinking is a fantastic book. No, The Way of No Thinking. See, I'm putting it into practice.
The book's done its job.
Absolutely, it's destroyed my mind such that I don't know where the book is, who wrote it, or what even the title is. And the other one is Ridding Yourself of Unhappiness, which my great lifelong favorite author and spiritual teacher, Barry Long. Very, very, always happy to. You can see the smile on my face, can't you? And how it warms my heart. On the other hand, Russia, and people are being a little bit reluctant in sharing their favorite self-help books with us this morning. Russia is a bit unique in terms of the lack of control that people have over their own lives, which leaves them open to people that promise what is in fact impossible for them. So interesting, Pete. Now, from what Benjamin was saying earlier on, and you go on to talk about psyops and so on. Again, the things that we never used to talk about years ago that seem to be perfect, very on the near mainstream agenda now. You know, what are they? Black swans and false flags and psyops and so on. But everyone seems to know about this stuff now, don't they? A lot of people do. What does knowing about this contribute to you, Pete? That's what I'm interested in. It's what you've brought to us into the conversation this morning. But I'm going to make a very sort of bold statement here that it doesn't really matter, does it, what's going on in Russia at the moment? And does knowing that, given the context of our conversation this morning, it is about human happiness, does it make you happier or less happy to know that this is going on? What I'm hearing, and I'm making a big guess here, is your compassion, is that you don't like to think of vulnerable people in an oppressive regime being taken advantage of. So you're quite glad to hear of it being stamped out. That's the juice, as far as I can tell. But what does it add to your happiness to know about this, to share about this? Because we're not very good, generally speaking, as I think you pointed out earlier on, Benjamin, with this sort of stuff. We don't look for the good and praise it. We're not necessarily thinking about what makes us grateful and looking at sunsets. We are quite easily distracted by things that make us feel wretched.
But going back to what James said, it was perfect. And this is what was it. Our brain, we're naturally wired to look for negative on some basic core level because of, you know, like looking out for something to be aware of, or some fear or some threat to us. So that is there. And that's why we've got to be aware of our pros and cons as humans, but then once we're aware of that, then it's a conscious choice to do that. And so there's no judgment in this. And like I said, I'm not here to say we should look at sunsets all the time and not know what's going on, because without information, we're not informed. But all I'd say is that it's a balance of being informed, but once you find yourself emotionally irate or emotionally tainted by it, it's tainting your life and your family life and who you are, then who's winning? Because the people in This is not to Peter, by the way, I'm speaking generally, but the people that you're feeling for aren't getting any benefit from your feeling. So do you know what I mean? So it's more that it's finding that balance of being aware and obviously having human compassion. We've got another guest.
I'm trying to listen, but I'm being massively distracted by this little rascal who's coming, who loves seeing himself, smiling back at himself. This is what the homework is, isn't it? About smiling for no reason.
But kids are our greatest teachers. Kids are our greatest teachers. They're non-judgmental. They have fun. They smile. They don't need much.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a teacher who just walked into the screen for us there, right?
You know what? The universe works in funny ways. And isn't that the case? That are we just taking too much of this? Like, are we, with this wealth of information and wealth of knowledge, are we then getting inundated with all the crap that's going on around the world? But in the whole scheme of things, most people in the world get on. If you're looking in most communities, if you walk around in your community now, are most people fighting and scrapping and hating? No. Most people are loving. Most people are kind. Most people will do something about it. But what we do is we just look for little nuggets of stuff to kind of, and then we're drawn in by our human nature. And then we just lose that power. And going back to what I said about Joe Dispenza, that's basically what he's saying. That if we lose our inner power to make the change we want to change by looking at what we don't want all the time, we need to start focusing on what we want to create. Be aware, try to not to get as emotional about it, but then focus on where we want the world to be. And there's so many good things going on. I'm not here as, as our famous Pollyanna, but what I'm saying is there are so many decent people. There's so many amazing things going on. And shouldn't we be celebrating that? Be aware, but celebrating that. But we don't. We quite like looking and delving and rabbit holing. And what does it achieve?
Rabbit holing. Yeah, I hope it's a phase we're going through, quite frankly.
It's just this, Carl. We've just gone from no information to knowing everything. And then you want to know, and then you can find anything on YouTube. And then how many things do we think were going to happen didn't happen? And then people then, so this is going to happen and it didn't. And then it's just find that balance. I think eventually we'll get discernment where we're just like,
you can also find that balance at any time of the. You're talking culturally, societally, aren't you? Any individual can find.
To be honest, on any level, we are just because now we've got all this information on anything, on food, on drink, on mindset, on news. It's just finding that our own discernment, our own balance of what works for us. And what we believe and what we don't believe. And the thing is, once we find out the stuff, we can find out what's going on around the world in depth. Then we obviously we're naturally curious, but then before you know it, it's ebbed away our inner happiness because we're just depressed by what's going on all around the world. But they're just tiny pockets of things that in a plethora, there's so much goodness going on. There is stuff going on.
I'm going to make another very bold assertion here. But I'm not going to do it just yet. It's about, I'll come back to that because I want to include and invite anyone who wants to call in to talk about it. 913-590-303 if you'd like to do that. The line is open. Katia has suggested a book or is mentioning a book that was helpful to her. Not a self-help book, strictly speaking, but by the sound of it, it helped you. So on that basis, let's call it a self-help book. But a friend suggested it to me some time ago, The Healer's Prophecy by Herman Horach Mamani. It helped me to see several things from a different perspective. Now, isn't that telling? And it would be a long reply to go into any more detail than that by the sound of it. But isn't that a great thing? Anything that helps you see things from a different perspective is a wonderful thing. And again, by using the phrase self-help book, of course, that is such a coverall that would include books that have been massively exploitative or used in an exploitative way. It's a very broad brushstroke. But I was just interested to know what people have been inspired by, such that they share that as well. So, of course, these things, like anything, can be used for positive or for ill. And I would refuse to say that they are just en masse a good or a bad thing. Tell us what is good about them from your own personal experience. I love Russia, says Pete, and would love to go back and enjoy taking an interest in what is happening there. Didn't know you spent time there. Hey, is he a spy, do you think? I suppose it is also interesting in terms of how the government backed and then dumped them for financial expediency. My understanding of Russian politics, or the way that Putin works, is that he funds everything, the opposition, and that was one of those great Adam Curtis documentaries I think about. What was it called? Hyper-reality? Really good stuff. It also appears to be somewhat of a trend globally. What is that, financing everybody or banning self-help, some self-help speakers? Right. What I was going to say that I think is quite controversial, Benjamin, is that this discernment you talk about is actually an intelligence test. Managing to keep oneself joyous free of unhappiness is the ultimate intelligence test. And if you slip away from your what we might describe as our birthright and our natural state, you have in some way done that to yourself as an injury. What do you reckon?
Yeah, but I think we've got to be a bit. Yeah, it's a very bold statement, and I think at the core of it, there's a lot of it that's truth. But I think it's more we've got to be softer in the sense of this because we've been trained not to be this way. We've been trained. Society. Oh, I hate the word society. But, just so many avenues pushed on us to be the way we are. Yes. So to even start to break through that when we've had like mainstream media telling us the opposite all our lives, it's great. So I'm really pleased people are starting to see it. But it's just, it's just finding that kind of balance, and people will find that balance. And it's okay to be unhappy. That's the thing. You don't want if I said to you, the good old famous one, if I said to you, Carl, now do not think of a pink elephant. Don't think of one. Don't think of one. You've thought one. Too late. It's done. So we are where we are, and it's about softening where we are, but just realizing. A lot of people don't know where. Like, again, going back to the book, but the softening where we are and giving people the kind of, that's why. Oh yeah, I do naturally do that. I do naturally go to the news when I come in. I don't need to. I do naturally look for negative stuff. I did that. It's just giving people the awareness, and then in time they'll realise that feels better. But it's funny. Who came on say hello in the background? I couldn't quite see him. I just saw a hand in the smile.
Little soul, yeah. The ray of sunshine.
So, well, children are one of our biggest teachers. I know they have to go through the things we do, but they let things go. They express their emotions. They do what they want to do when they want to do it. They tell you how they feel. They have fun. They're non-judgmental. We kind of lose them aspects, that kind of childhood innocence as we get older. But I think that's why we love fancy dress. We love getting drunk because it gives us chance to act like children again. But really, that's what we're kind of after.
One more thing before you go. This is the delicious conundrum of all this talk, isn't it? Is that you were saying it's okay to be unhappy, and I want to say it's not, because unhappiness hurts. But I get your point at the same time. This is the great, if you like, spiritual, cosmic consciousness conversation, isn't it? Because it cannot be dealt with on an ideological binary basis. Yeah. Happiness is neither good nor bad, ultimately. But we do know from our own conscious experience that it isn't fun to be unhappy. Nobody really wants to be unhappy, do they? But therein lies the beautiful, the motor of life itself. That if we are experiencing unhappiness, it's feedback, isn't it? It's feedback, and it needn't be seen as good or bad. More possibly as a motivator.
Well, if we see it as the point, we have people put sandwich boards on every day. So our sandwich board, we put it on, and that sandwich board is our name, my name. And on that sandwich board, there's some big things that are very potent. So maybe your religious beliefs, your football team you like. So and certain things are smaller. So we wear this personality sandwich board every day. So if someone's been the way they are, and obviously you kind of want to make this kind of talk show to kind of uplift and share knowledge, etc. So when people wear this, if we go in and be like, come on, unhappy's wrong, come on, get happy. Yeah. We feel it as a defense. We get defensive about it. So what I've realised with it is if we're too harsh on unhappiness, then people get, because that's where they're at. And I just realised with the softer approach, so, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's okay to be where you are, but there is other options, because then it's softer. It's same with politics. When you go on Facebook and there's a political debate, people are, whenever at the end of that thread does someone go, do you know what? You're right. They never do, because they've done.
If they do, Benjamin, they say, "Do you know what? You're right," and they don't mean it, do they? They're just a passive-aggressive little gesture to finish the argument with.
So it's giving everyone the freedom to be where they are, but if they want to feel better, it might be worth looking at other avenues. And it's a softly approach. I don't want to battle that. And that's what I think what I was saying at. And I know you're getting that as well.
Absolutely. Deciding on whether happiness is good or a good or bad thing is a fool's errand. What difference does it make what anyone thinks about that? All that I do know from my own personal experience is that I don't like feeling unhappy. And that doesn't make it a bad thing. That makes it a thing. And a thing I might want to do something about. And that's why I might turn to somebody like yourself to help me with that.
Well, going back to, because I know I'm a time's up really, but but with the idea of we have a guidance system. So animals have instinct, right? The birds fly south just before a snowstorm. Animals find their way to the one tiny watering hole. They know they've got it. We've got instinct. It's called our emotional guidance. So how do things feel? If I don't like mushrooms, I try to like them, I don't. So if I try to give myself mushrooms, I don't like them. I know. I don't like being like 41 saying, "Can you take the mushrooms out?" But I just don't like them. But I don't like the texture. Anyway, it's another thing. But I would not buy mushrooms and cook and eat them because I don't like them. Because my taste buds are going, ugh. And we have that same guidance. So, it's yes, I need to be aware. Like, I think, was it Pete saying about interest about Russia? Pete, by the way, this is not about you. I feel like it is, but it's not.
Not about you, Pete.
Sorry, Pete. What I'm saying is that we've got a choice, haven't we? So you could be interested in something. And then if after a while you think, this is starting not to taste good, then you think, right, I've been on here too long. And I think that is kind of what I want to leave with, is we have that choice. What makes us feel better in this moment? And sometimes it is to find out what's going on, but then we know. But then, then it's a choice over how we feel, what we feed in our mind, so what we're reading. And then we have a choice. Obviously, when I come back next week, I'll share some other studies about minds and how we look for things positive. It's really cool. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon I'll talk about next week.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. So
it's why if you buy a new car, you keep seeing that car everywhere.
That's called reticular activation as well, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Well,
the base of that is, Carl, sorry, just to jump in finally, I might as well say the kind of answer to that is because we've trained our brain when we buy a car, like a yellow car, and then we see that yellow car everywhere. It's because in our brain is looking for it. It's important to us. We've installed it. So of course, if we've installed negativity or we install looking for negativity, we'll see it. And that's what I'm saying. So as you start to train your brain to be more optimistic, to be more grateful, you will see more things to be grateful and optimistic. And that's what the kind of science behind that is proving as well.
I am grateful and optimistic about you saying that, because I know from my own point of view, and I this is what empathy is, isn't it? If you said you were, and Pete, by the way, I can't see where you sent me a sunset, but we have got a rainbow to finish with from Ian Turner. So thank you for that, Coach Turner. Benjamin, I think, has done a fantastic job of stepping in your big trainers today. But the gratitude, I can't remember what you said, but the beauty of, I'm very grateful and optimistic about our conversation, about the particular things you said, because this love of the sunset you have is perhaps a trained, kids aren't really doing that, are they? If you say to a kid, look at the beautiful sunset, it's like, okay, great. And then they go on and do, but for adults, it's like, we've gone out, haven't we, on a long arc, and we're coming back to these beautiful things like sunsets that remind us of the child, you could say, of momentary joy. And each time, the beautiful thing that I'm aware of in talking to this about you is the joy of that. And it doesn't have to be a sunset, but whatever it is that affirms and has you feel grateful and optimistic will, in that Baader-Meinhof reticular activation way, deepen your experience, I'm guessing, as well. Okay, so you feel it more and more, don't you? And I'm feeling your heart. I'm feeling your joy about you talking about seeing a sunset. This is how it works, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but exactly. So going back to your kid about the sunset, if you look at kids, they'll pick up stones and just love, this is the best stone ever. They'll carry it around for
every time we go out. What was that?
Another guess. We get so many. And that's so going back to what we said about gratitude when we first started speaking to James. Gratitude is trained, and you've got to train yourself. And as you start to be grateful on the smaller little things like kids are, you'll then naturally see more things to be grateful. You'll naturally feel gratitude easier. So I can literally cry at a sunset sometimes. But then what's interesting about life is we all want different things. Some people love train spotting. Some people love football. It's following your bliss, finding things that make you feel better. Do that. Be informed, but find the things that inspire you and do that. Whether it's sunsets, tulips, football, train spotting.
But don't turn it into an ideology, because you'll be unhappy again as soon as you've done that. Squire of the Shire says, and this is the first of a 4-week residency now. This is booked up. Iberian FM phone in from 10 till 10:30 of the next. That's good for you, is it, James? You're Benjamin, not James, of course. You can join us.
James is a great guy, so I'm quite flattered to be compared with him.
Well, that's why I did.
Yes, I'm here next few weeks.
Okay, this has really resonated with us, listening to the conversation today with you and Benjamin. Really helpful. And Sarah, good morning to you. My favorite book is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, to actually see what loving yourself and others looks like. That sounds good, doesn't it? And let me see if I can find the messenger message. I think you probably sent it to one of my pages rather than me, Pete. We'll come back to that, but we have got a picture of a rainbow. Look at that. Thank you. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
Just on the horizon there in Pembrokeshire, in the freshly reunited kingdom. Or whatever it was that happened on Saturday, whatever sense you've made of that yourself. But that is that is a thing of beauty right there. And that book that I was trying to remember the name of, but it's worked on me, The Way of No Thinking and the Prophecies. Here you go, Benjamin. The Way of No Thinking, the Prophecies of Japan's Kunihiro. It's still not there. Kunihiro Yamate is the last name of that writer. And it suggests, Benjamin, that we might go back to that completely intuitive state that you were talking about, where we stop thinking and rationalizing and ideologizing that gets us into so much trouble.
I think as well, we don't want to take away modern life. There's so many amazing things we can do. We can communicate like this all around the world. But then we've got lost in all that information. And I think what now we just get coming back to discernment of actually realizing that the simpler things matter as well. But also, it's great that I can chat to you in Portugal. Right. So I think we're just finding that equilibrium. So we've gone one extreme, we're just finding that equilibrium where, yes, I love the fact that I don't have to bang my clothes to clean them. I love the fact that a machine does it for me. Do you know what I mean? Yes. I'm not being truthful. I'm saying I'm grateful for that.
I get it.
I can spend my day doing other things rather than clean my clothes. So there are amazing things like modern technology and modern life. It's just we've lost some of those little things and we feel a little bit lost in life. It's because we forgot the true core of who we are as well. Like that we do want to see simpler things. We do enjoy interactions. We do want to have fun. We do want to, play. So when I say play is going to people to watch football. Play is going to do some dancing class. It's finding that core childlike innocence that we kind of lost. That mixed with modern reality is probably the perfect balance because we need that.
Oh, mate. And what a lovely note to end on. Yeah. And it's not that difficult. If you try and do it, if you try and make everyone else do it and make it a political, ideological movement, that's going to be quite difficult. But a sunset, I understand, will be available this evening, which you can go.
That's a good joke. Every evening. No. You're absolutely right. I think it's coming back to that core that if you try to push other people on it, because our spirits like freedom, we don't like being told what to do. You tell a kid not to do it, they'll want to do it. You tell them to do it, they don't want to do it. So if we go out there pushing our ideologies of what you should do, they don't want to listen. You live your life as best you can, and people will ask if they're interested in how you live in. And I think you let your life prove it rather than.
Very good. Okay, go around smiling. That was the homework from the Good Morning Portugal show. Smile like you've just done a little cheeky guff with a little smile on your face for the rest of the week.
No, a cheeky guff, then if you're in it, you're not be smiling. It's a cheeky guff and then you walk off. Fair play.
Great homework. See you next week. Take care. Bye for now. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
O'Reilly. It's Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. Our professional parts people will test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh, 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 O'Reilly Auto Parts.